Okay, now we're facing Hollywood Hills. That mountain in front of us is called Runyon Mountain. And there's a park up on the top that's free to visit. Beautiful sightseeing on foot. No driving. You can drive up there and park for free, but it's a walking trail. A lot of celebrities go there. Okay, they like it up there. It's kind of private, even though it's open to the public. There's a lot of people, don't go hiking up there. There's other things to do in Hollywood besides hiking. Okay, I'm going to save the famous houses. We are going to be coming down the same way as we go up to Mulholland Drive, because there's a big bowl concert at the Hollywood Bowl tonight, and I've learned the hard way. It only took me once or twice to learn. You don't come through Highland down here during Hollywood Bowl. It's a big music arena. Thousands and thousands of people sitting in traffic to try to enter. So we'll save the famous houses for on the way down. But I want to take the time to tell you the real history of the Hollywood sign. Let's set the stage. In 1923, there were no airports or commercial aircraft. Okay? So you could not get here to the West Coast except on a ship or a train. It's like 3,000 miles 100 years ago. Most of you don't know what it was like, including me. But I can imagine. So you had to be very rich to come out here on a train or a ship. But what is there to even come out here for? This place, there's no internet, there's no television. Nobody even knows what's out here except newspaper, okay? But it did become famous out here for oil, gold, silver, precious metal. There was a thing called the California Gold Rush. In fact, California is called the Golden State because of gold. So many explorers that risked their lives became very, very rich, including William Doheny, the founder of Beverly Hills, okay? But otherwise, nobody had any interest in this, okay? Until in 1923, a group of well-to-do oil and gold explorers saw a future in real estate here, because of the beautiful beaches, the undeveloped land, the really great weather, and they decided to move their money over into real estate instead of precious metal. And so they bought up all this real estate around here, what's Los Angeles, Hollywood, and then they decided they would market it through the New York Times magazine, newspaper, because they had connections to the newspaper there in New York City. So first, as they always do, they bought up all the real estate. The next thing was to market it. So as part of their marketing strategy, they'll build this giant real estate billboard that's spelled Hollywood Land. Many people believe they would never get the big letters up Mount Lee because it's too steep and dangerous. This is before tractors and trucks. You understand? They had to use horses and wagons. They had skeptics, okay? Of course. But their second phase of putting up the sign was to light it up with thousands of sparkling light bulbs. And people thought this was absolutely impossible because there was no source of electricity around here. And especially to light it up on the top of Mount Lee, 3,000 feet above ground, it seemed impossible. Well, they defied the odds and they got the sign put up on the top of Mount Lee. Many men and animals died during the project, and they got it lit up, and it changed the world forever. Suddenly, the west coast of the United States had been discovered. Some of the best real estate in the world, the mountains, the beaches, the warm weather, okay? And the rest is history. That sign got the movies from New York and New Jersey to move here. The movies really hadn't even started, but they were projected to be launched in the U.S. in New York City. Kodak and Edison, New Jersey, New York. But they even decided there was a land rush going on out here, and better, Hollywood was the future, better to start your movies beneath the Hollywood land sign, because this is where the money was flowing. It was flowing out of New York into what's now Los Angeles. And that's the history of the sign, it's the history of the movies, and it's the history of Hollywood. It was all created very deliberately, by a thought out but challenging project. Okay? And it worked well, and now 100 years later, we're going up this mountain road to look at the sign. But it's not the original sign. It doesn't have the word land. All the letters are recent, and it doesn't have any lights. Okay? Why? Too difficult. Keep it simple. Hollywood. And that's it. That's the story of the sign. It lives on forever.
When was the old sign done rid of?
That's a great question. The question is, when was the old sign? I believe it was finally taken down around 1970. I used to have it memorized and I forgot. But it was in that era. Now, what's interesting, since you asked, Hugh Hefner at the Playboy Mansion had an auction. This is a true story. Each letter was projected to be about $75,000. And at the auction, Andy Williams bought the W because of his last name, Williams. Alice Cooper bought the 2 O's in the word wood because he said, I got 2 O's in the middle of me last name. Ozzy Osbourne has an O. In fact, he's got 2 O's, but there were no 2 left. He bought one. And Hugh Hefner bought the H for Hollywood. Hugh Hefner, you see? But I'm glad you asked the question. I usually don't speak to that because, there's only so much interest. But you've asked an appropriate question. That's the appropriate answer.
It's a shame they didn't hold on to them and keep them somewhere.
I believe they are. I think the original letters were auctioned and are stored by private investors. That's my understanding. The original letters still exist. They were auctioned and they held by private investors. But what are you going to do with a 50-foot high sign? It's not easy to manage. It's not like a gold ring. You know what I mean? But anyway, let's go take a look at the current sign. Now, we don't get as close as possible because tour vans are restricted in how close they can go because of the neighborhood rules. The city has posted laws about tour vans getting over to these neighborhoods across on the right. But I'll show and tell you how to get there. You can go in your own car. They just don't want all the tour vans running through the neighborhoods anymore, so they banned them. But there it is on the right. It's in exactly the same location. The present sign is the exact replica of the original, but it's made of harder, stronger material, and of course there are no lights. Okay? But that is the same spot it's been for 100 years. And the letters had to be brought up the back of the mountain, and they still are. All things with the Hollywood sign go up the back. The front of Mount Lee, which we'll just call the south side here, is too steep. The north side behind it is a little flatter slope. So they're able to do it from the back. But you can see there are no roads or cars or houses or people in the top 2/3 quadrant of the mountain. Okay, it's just too difficult to navigate, and it's illegal, and you will be harshly punished. Because they don't want people trying it. It's dangerous, and not only to the sign, but it's dangerous to them. People have died messing around along on that sign. So there it is, Hollywood. And I'm also going to show you, while we're up here, the Griffith Observatory. Now, those neighborhoods you see closer to the sign, Beechwood Canyon and Hollywood Lake, you in your own car can have access to those neighborhoods, and you can actually get a lot closer. But don't go after dark. But I'm going to tell you my experience, having been to all these places many times, is I believe the sign is best witnessed, at least in photographs, from here. because of the perspective. I notice when you get closer, you lose the perspective of kind of the valley, the giant Mount Lee. And you know, okay, the letters are closer, but you don't get in the background. You know, like I say, the scope of Mount Lee and the real, setting of the sign. Now there's the Griffith Observatory. I'm pointing to it on the left. I'm going to call it 9 o'clock. The white round buildings with the gray cones on the top. That is a free planetarium, great experience, you know, scientific museum, whatever you want to call it. I'm putting it on the free places to go list, like the Runyon Canyon Park, the Santa Monica Pier we didn't get to see because it's too far west. The Beverly Hills Hotel is a fun free experience. So is the Griffith Observatory. There's more, but these are just some of the free fun places you can visit. And highly recommend it, okay? If you get a chance to go to the observatory. Oprah just had a big party here at the observatory. Now you see riding a bike up this hill? That's not easy. No, it's not. I mean, these guys are real professional, you know, riders that can ride this mountain. Really, it's not easy. It's not easy to walk. Trust me, I've never had any issues up there. I've had to walk these mountains a little bit. You know, not up here, but even down the slope where we're going down. There's downtown. Right there. See, the sign actually faced downtown. That was that's the best land, the valley. See it? Flat. So they put the sign on this. I don't know if they had a choice. I think they had to put it on this side because it was too steep from the other side. You know, and it would face north away from the beaches and everything. More views of the valley, but it's kind of foggy today. We're not getting a very deep. Okay, so we're just going to head the same way down as up. We're avoiding traffic at the Hollywood Bowl. Okay, now Christina Aguilera's is going to pop up right here. It's a big pink one. Go slow, but we can't encroach on traffic coming up the hill. There, you see the pink house there peeking out behind the trees? That's Christina Aguilera's from Pennsylvania, right there.
You don't hear much from her anymore.
Not too much, that is true. Not too much. This one next up on the top was Justin Bieber's. You see the glass house way up on the top with the triangular roof? Maybe a little hard to see. But that was Justin Bieber's back when he first became famous. I don't believe he lives there anymore. There's been no lights on at that house for years. I don't know who owns it. Maybe he still owns it. But he used to be up on that rail all the time, if you could see it. He used to stand, when he was first famous, he was very outgoing. Now he's very subdued. He's married. I've even heard he's suffering from illness. And he's like incognito now. You don't hear or see much of him. He used to be, you know, of course, when he was younger, he was highly visible, very friendly fellow, always respectful and good to his fans. Because we used to see him quite a bit around. He was always going out, you know, a young guy. Yeah, but he was very mature, you know, and he never really had any real bad scandals that I recall, like violence or drugs, you know. He seemed to be like a good kid. You know, again, I don't know him personally, but we saw him a few times, and his behavior was always appropriate. And Tom Cruise is like, Tom Cruise is a really good guy. He was always treated us with so much respect. I kind of miss him. We don't see him anymore because he's living in London. But he was cool. The Rock, Dwayne Johnson, you know, he's a very cool fellow, nice and friendly. And, you know, when we see him, he's like that. And most of them are. But, a lot of them, I think, tend to avoid us. David Beckham's really friendly. We see him quite a bit. His wife, Victoria, she seems a little more private. That's okay. But he's a little more, I notice he's more friendlier when he's not with Victoria. Not that we see him that often, but seems to be a pattern. Here, this is Charlize Theron, right here, from South Africa. Best Actress of the Year from a movie, Monster. But that is heavily secluded, obviously. She wants her privacy. I mean, the neighbors in this neighborhood, of course, don't like tour vans. There's actually a sign at the bottom that we passed that says no tour vans. But the police in this area of Hollywood have taken a position. They're not going to ticket tour vans. They're too busy with real Hollywood crimes. You know what I mean? There's enough issues in Hollywood. They don't want to use their resources on tour vans. I get along very at the El Capitan Theater where I picked you up, that children's theater, the Disney theater. Those people in plain clothes that stand there, they're all undercover LA cops. And I'm quite, you know, over the years, I've gotten to know them in mutual respect. And they tell me, you know, the same thing I tell them. Nobody ever stops me going up Outpost. And they said, we don't have the resources to enforce tour van violations unless, you know, they're serious. And so they don't bother us here. Ironically, over in those neighborhoods I mentioned closer to the Hollywood sign, the motorcycle police there are very aggressive. It just must be a different zone or district. Because a lot of tour drivers, and I just missed getting a ticket. I tried it once to get through there, and the only reason I got through was because they had another tour van ahead of me pulled over, and they were giving a ticket. So I got through because I guess he wasn't going to try to give 2 tickets at once. He already got it. So I don't go there anymore, and I don't think any of the companies know. But what they usually do is they use like a 2-week, 3-week period. They strictly enforce it. And then they back off, but they enforce it so hard, you know, the tour drivers are like, I'm not going back there. But, you know, maybe now, a couple years later, we could get away with it. But the company's forbidden us, you know, it's not my discretion. They say, you get a ticket over there, you're getting a lawyer, we're not paying for it, you're warned, don't go there. And you're going to pay the fine, and you're going to get the points on your license. Then you're not going to be able to get insured, and then you're not going to have a job. It's up to you. You take the risk, go for it. It's all on the inside. Anyway, let me show you some more famous houses. Now actually there's a pink house coming up on the right, and it's former Ariana Grande house. She's from Boca Raton, Florida. But she has a bigger, you know, more beautiful mansion now. Well, she's a Grammy winner, and but I'll show you her former home from, I don't know, a few years ago. It's up here on the right. It's kind of a pinkish one as well. Right up here with the tall palm trees on the right. There, on that corner. And then this one on the left is Lawrence Fishburne from movies like The Matrix, What's Love Got to Do with It, Boys in the Hood. This one with the brown gate. Right there. And then Yamashiro Restaurant is up here on the top. It's a very popular old Japanese restaurant you can visit right up there. I'm pointing to it on the top left. And then I mentioned Bob Barker, and he lived all these years right here on this corner across the street on the right behind that lamp post. Here, we're passing him there. Come on down, Bob. Price is right. And then the YouTubers, Jake and Logan Paul, they used to live right up here on the end on the right, 1805. right here on this corner. Here, on the right. The YouTubers, Jake and Logan. And then this is Franklin Avenue. Now, if you wanted to get to those neighborhoods closer to the sign in your own car, you would just head east like I am. Hollywood Boulevard's 1 block on the right. Go east to Beechwood on Franklin. And I'll help you with it after the tour if you want. Here's where Janis Joplin died in 1972. The Queen of Rock on the left. Highland Gardens Hotel. Of course, she's a member of the Forever 27 Club. Just like Jim Morrison, Amy Winehouse, Jimi Hendrix, and others. And then here's the Magic Castle, a private club, members only. You got to be pretty connected here to get a membership. You got to have a vote. You can submit your application and meet with them, and they will vote on whether you are worthy to be a member. But it's not easy. I've never applied, but I know people. Most of the members actually are born into it. Like if your father's a member, then you can become a member. If you're a third-party member, non-member, then it's very difficult. And there's been a lot of shows and stories there. Anyone heard of Orson Welles? He was a member. Harry Houdini, David Copperfield, Chris Angel. Houdini did a lot of seances. That's what he was. See, people think he was a magician. He was. But his niche was seances. He believed he could connect the living to the dead. And a lot of people think the haunting of the Roosevelt Hotel in front of us, as well as the haunting of the Magic Castle, has something to do with his seance. I won't go into, we talk about Houdini on the crime scene tour. It's not really a crime scene, the Magic Castle, but it's pretty close. Some of the things that he did and things that have happened at the Magic Castle. Maybe it's folklore, maybe it's scandal, maybe it's legend, but there's a lot of rumors about the Roosevelt and the Magic Castle in the old days. But all that being said, we have made it back to Hollywood Boulevard. Hallelujah, it's safely back. So I want to thank you all for coming on me tour. If you have any questions after the tour, just let me know. Please don't forget, adults are only $20 each person, tip gratuity. Children are not expected to tip, but adults are. And if you don't want to use cash, you can use debit, credit card, whatever you like, right here at our booth where you purchase a ticket. My tour typically are $20 tip because of the popularity of this tour. Okay, it has the highest reviews of any tour.